He humiliated me in front of our entire family, so I revealed his darkest secret at his wedding. The room went silent. Was I wrong? I never thought I'd be the kind of man to ruin his own brother's wedding, but here I am, replaying that night over and over in my head. People look at me like I'm the villain, like I destroyed the happiest day of his life, but no one seems to care about why I did it. They don't know the months of humiliation, the betrayal, the whispered secrets I was forced to carry while everyone around me treated me like I was nothing. You see, my brother wasn't just a groom that night. He was a liar, a cheater, and the same person who had humiliated me in front of friends and family more times than I can count. And when I finally decided I couldn't stay silent anymore, everything exploded. My brother, Adam, has always been the golden child of the family. He's 3 years older than me, and somehow, no matter what he did, my parents looked at him like he hung the moon. Straight A's? Not really. He was average at best. But if Adam brought home a C, they said he was busy with sports or had too much on his plate. Meanwhile, if I didn't bring home an A, I was lazy and not living up to my potential. At family gatherings, Adam was the one everyone wanted to hear from. He'd crack jokes, sometimes at my expense, and everyone would laugh like it was the funniest thing in the world. I'd sit there, smiling on the outside, while inside I felt like I was shrinking smaller and smaller. He'd call me names in front of my cousins, mock my job because it wasn't as glamorous as his corporate career, even make jokes about my relationships. The worst part? Nobody ever told him to stop. They just brushed it off as brotherly teasing. But for me, it wasn't teasing. It was humiliation. It was a lifetime of being treated like the punchline. And when Adam finally got engaged, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would change. I thought being his best man would mean he respected me, that for once, he'd let me stand beside him as an equal. That I couldn't have been more wrong. The wedding planning was in full swing, and Adam made sure everyone knew he was in charge. Even though I was supposed to be the best man, he didn't actually want my input on anything important. He gave me little tasks, like confirming the tux rentals or checking the guest list, while his fiancée, Claire, and the wedding planner handled the real decisions. First, I didn't mind. I thought, fine, this is his day, let him have it his way. But the arrogance just kept building. Adam would bark orders at me, make sarcastic comments about how I'd better not screw up his big day, and constantly remind me that it was an honor to stand next to him. I tried to swallow it, telling myself it wasn't worth a fight. Then came the bachelor party. That night changed everything. Adam was drinking heavily, surrounded by his groomsmen and friends, bragging about how his life was perfect. The good job, the beautiful fiancée, the dream wedding, the whole picture. But as the night wore on and the alcohol took hold, his tongue loosened. That I'll never forget the moment he leaned back in his chair, smirking, and dropped a bomb that froze me in place. He admitted he'd been cheating on Claire. Not just once, not a fling, but an ongoing affair with a woman he'd been seeing for months. The other guys laughed nervously, brushed it off as typical Adam, but I sat there stunned. This wasn't just bad behavior. This was destroying someone's life. And Claire? She had no idea. She was out there planning her dream wedding while he was sneaking around behind her back. That was the first time I felt the seed of a decision planting itself inside me. If Adam wanted to keep humiliating me in front of everyone, maybe it was time someone turned the spotlight back on him. The rehearsal dinner was supposed to be a warm, light-hearted evening, a moment for family and friends to gather before the big day, to laugh, share stories, and celebrate what was ahead. But for me, it became the breaking point. Adam had always had this streak of arrogance. But during the rehearsal, he dialed it up to a level that felt less like brotherly teasing and more like deliberate humiliation. It started small. He made a couple of jokes about how I was just barely responsible enough to hold onto the rings. Everyone laughed politely, and I brushed it off. But he didn't stop there. While giving a toast, he smirked at the crowd and said something like, "We all know my little brother isn't exactly known for his maturity. So fingers crossed he doesn't lose the rings or get drunk and forget his speech tomorrow." The room chuckled, but I could feel my face turning hot. It wasn't playful ribbing. It was designed to make me look incompetent, to cast me as the clown in front of his future in-laws, his fiancée, and even my own family. Claire tried to change the subject, giving me a sympathetic look, but Adam wasn't done. At one point, he leaned over in front of everyone and whispered just loud enough for the table to hear, Don't screw this up like you screw up everything else. That stung more than I expected. It wasn't just embarrassing. It was cruel. My parents stayed quiet, uncomfortable but unwilling to call him out. And I sat there feeling like a child being scolded in front of the entire family. But here's the thing. While Adam thought he was putting me in my place, he had no idea what he'd just set in motion. Because as I sat there, staring at my plate, my mind was racing. I knew his secret. I knew about the affair he'd drunkenly confessed at the bachelor party. And in that moment, with his smug voice echoing in my ears and the room still buzzing from his cheap joke, I made a silent decision. If Adam wanted to keep dragging my name through the mud, then maybe I would stop protecting his. Tomorrow, at his wedding, in front of everyone who thought he was this golden boy, I would reveal the truth. That night, after the rehearsal dinner, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake in the small guest room at my parents' house, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every word Adam had said, every smirk, every laugh at my expense. That it wasn't just about the jokes anymore. It was about the years of being belittled, of always being compared to him, of carrying the label of the irresponsible little brother while he was painted as the golden child. And now, even at the moment that was supposed to be the happiest in his life, he couldn't resist making me feel small. But this time, I had something he didn't expect, leveraged at the bachelor party just a week before. Adam had gotten drunk, not just tipsy, but sloppy, no-filter drunk. That's when he let it slip. He told me, laughing like it was no big deal, that he'd been having some fun on the side with a coworker. At first, I thought he was joking, but the way he leaned in and described sneaking around, the way he smirked as he bragged about being careful enough not to get caught, I knew he was dead serious. The time, I'd felt sick. I debated telling Claire right then and there, but part of me didn't want to blow up my brother's life. I figured he'd come to his senses, end it before the wedding, and no one would ever have to know. I buried it, but now, after he humiliated me in front of two families, his fiancée, and a room full of guests, that secret was burning a hole in my chest. That I got up from bed, paced around, and thought through my options. Option 1. Do nothing. Let Adam marry Claire, keep the peace, and just swallow my pride. After all, exposing him would hurt her most of all, and she didn't deserve that. Option 2. Pull him aside privately before the ceremony and give him one last chance. Tell him I know, tell him to confess, or I'd do it for him. Option 3. Drop the truth like a bombshell at the wedding, in front of everyone. Make him feel what it's like to be humiliated and stripped of his image. Each option came with consequences. Doing nothing meant enabling him, and I couldn't look Claire in the eye knowing what I knew. Talking privately risked him brushing me off, like he always did, or finding some way to twist it so I'd look like the bad guy. But exposing him publicly, that would be nuclear. It would ruin him, and it might ruin me too. The thought of standing there during my best man's speech, looking out at Claire's glowing face, and dropping the truth hit me like a lightning bolt. It was the boldest move, the most dramatic, and the one that Adam least expected. I lay back down. But the decision was already forming in my gut. Tomorrow, at that wedding, I wasn't just going to be Adam's little brother, the one he laughed at. I was going to be the one who told the truth. And for the first time in years, I actually felt powerful. The morning of the wedding arrived like a storm I wasn't ready for, even though I'd told myself all night that I was. The house buzzed with energy from the moment the sun came up. My mom was in the kitchen cooking enough food to feed an army. The bridesmaids were scattered around the living room getting their hair and makeup done. And my dad kept pacing around with his tie half done, barking at people to stay on schedule. And then there was Adam. He looked calm. Too calm. Like a man who had no weight on his shoulders, who thought the world owed him this perfect day. He strutted around the house in his crisp tuxedo shirt, cracking jokes with his groomsmen, grinning like he hadn't just spent the night making his little brother feel like garbage. Every time I caught a glimpse of him, my stomach churned. Claire, on the other hand, was glowing. I'll admit, she looked stunning that morning. Her smile lit up the room. Her dress was flawless, and she radiated this genuine excitement that almost made me falter. Almost. Because she didn't know the truth. She didn't know that the man she was about to vow her life to had already betrayed her. That I tried to go through the motions like everyone else, helping set up the reception hall, making sure the rings were accounted for, rehearsing my speech in my head. But every time I thought about standing up in front of all those people, the words twisted. Instead of the safe, funny anecdotes I'd planned, I kept imagining myself telling the real story, the one Adam didn't want anyone to hear today. As the ceremony drew closer, my nerves kicked in. My palms sweated, my heart raced, and I kept asking myself the same questions on repeat. Do I really have the guts to do this? What if they all turn on me? What if Claire hates me for humiliating her in front of everyone? What if my family never forgives me? But then, I'd picture Adam laughing at me at the rehearsal dinner, or the way he bragged at the bachelor party about cheating like it was some twisted badge of honor. And every time, my hesitation hardened into resolve that I wasn't doing this to embarrass Claire. I wasn't doing it for revenge. Well, not entirely. I was doing it because Adam didn't deserve to walk away unscathed, smiling like the perfect groom, while she walked blindly into a trap. By the time we arrived at the church, my decision felt carved in stone. I walked down the aisle, took my place at Adam's side as his best man, and kept my face composed. No one had a clue what was about to happen. Not my parents, not Claire, not even Adam. The vows were exchanged, the rings slipped on, and everyone clapped as they were pronounced husband and wife. Claire looked like the happiest woman alive, and Adam soaked in the attention like a king. My chest tightened, not with doubt this time, but with determination, because when the reception started and the microphone was handed to me for my speech, that's when the world would finally see Adam for who he really was, and there would be no going back. The reception hall was like something out of a fairy tale. Golden lights twinkled from every corner. The tables were covered with fresh flowers, and the air buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and the soft hum of music. It was exactly the kind of setting Adam had always dreamed of, all eyes on him. Everyone showering him with praise, celebrating his perfect love story. That I sat at the long head table, staring at my untouched plate, my fork clutched in my hand so tightly my knuckles turned white. The DJ cracked a joke into the microphone and announced it was time for the speeches. Applause rippled through the crowd. People leaned forward in anticipation, waiting for the best man to make them laugh, maybe shed a few tears, and wrap it all up with a toast to the happy couple. That best man was me. Adam gave me a wink as he handed me the microphone, his smug grin daring me to screw this up. That grin nearly broke me, because it reminded me of every insult. Every time he'd shoved me into his shadow, every time he'd made me feel like I didn't matter. That I stood, cleared my throat, and let my eyes wander across the crowd. Faces full of expectation stared back at me. My parents, smiling proudly. Claire, radiant and glowing. Adam, smug and unshakable. My heart pounded so hard I thought the mic might pick it up. That I started safe. A few jokes about growing up with Adam. Some lighthearted stories about us as kids. People laughed. They clapped. They were right there with me. I could feel myself slipping into the role Adam expected. The supportive little brother, the one who makes him look good. But then, my tone shifted. I slowed down, leaned into the microphone, and let the room grow quiet. You all know Adam as a loyal friend, a dedicated son, and now, a devoted husband. But I know him differently. I've seen sides of him most of you haven't. And as much as I wanted to stand here today and just tell jokes, there's something I can't stay silent about. The room stilled. I could feel the tension coil in the air like a wire ready to snap. Adam's grin faltered, his jaw tightening, his eyes narrowing as if to silently warn me. But it was too late. That I continued, my voice steady even though my hands shook. Adam likes to brag when he thinks no one's listening. He likes to talk about the things he does behind closed doors. Things that, if Claire knew, she would never have agreed to walk down that aisle today. Gasps rippled through the room. Claire's smile froze, confusion clouding her eyes. My parents shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. Adam's face turned pale, and then red, and then something in between. That I hadn't even said it yet. But everyone could feel it coming. The truth was about to break this wedding apart. The silence was unbearable. You could hear the clink of a fork being dropped somewhere in the back, a stifled cough, the shuffle of someone adjusting in their chair. Every pair of eyes was locked on me. That I took a deep breath and went for it. Adam has been cheating on Claire, I said, my voice cutting through the heavy air like a knife. For months. With her maid of honor, Jessica. The crowd erupted. Gasps, murmurs, shocked exclamations. It was chaos. People leaned across tables, whispering furiously, trying to process what they had just heard. My mom put her hand over her mouth, her face drained of color. My dad slammed his fist on the table, muttering something I couldn't make out, but the loudest reaction was Claire's. She stood up so quickly her chair toppled behind her. Her bouquet hit the floor, forgotten, petals scattering across the polished wood. What? Her voice cracked, trembling between rage and heartbreak. She looked from me to Adam, searching his face for denial, for reassurance, for anything. Adam jumped to his feet, red-faced and furious. "You're lying," he shouted, pointing a shaking finger at me. "You're just jealous. You've always been jealous of me." But I didn't flinch. I didn't back down. I pulled out my phone and held it up. "Jealous? Or just tired of covering for you?" I tapped the screen, and the voice recordings I'd kept for weeks filled the speakers. Adam's drunken voice, bragging to his buddies, "She'll never know. Jessica's worth the risk. Claire's so busy planning the wedding. She doesn't even notice." Claire's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks as Jessica, sitting 2 tables away, froze in her seat, her face turning ashen. All eyes darted to her. Someone in the crowd gasped, "Oh my God, it's true." The entire room was imploding. Claire's sobs echoed through the hall, raw and uncontrollable. Her makeup streaked down her cheeks, her hands trembling as she tried to steady herself on the edge of the table. The sight of her, in her wedding dress, veil slightly slipping, heart shattering in front of everyone, was unbearable. The guests erupted into noise. Some shouted angrily at Adam, others whispered in disbelief, and a few had their phones out, recording the entire scene. The once celebratory wedding hall now felt like a courtroom, with Adam on trial before 100 witnesses. Jessica tried to shrink into her chair, eyes darting around for an escape. But Claire's glare snapped toward her like a blade. "You!" Claire spat, her voice shaking with fury. "My maid of honor? My best friend." She practically screamed the last words, her chest heaving as she stepped toward Jessica. Jessica stammered, "Claire, I can explain." But her voice crumbled under the weight of the crowd's outrage. Adam shoved his chair back, desperate now. He reached for Claire, but she recoiled as if his touch was poison. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Please, you have to believe me," he begged, his voice cracking, no longer confident but pathetic. But Claire wasn't listening. She turned to the guests, her family, her friends, her world, and said, "Do you all see this? This is who I was about to marry. A liar. A cheater. A fraud. And you," she pointed a trembling finger at Adam, "you humiliated me in front of everyone. And now you want me to forgive this? Never." Gasps filled the room. A few people clapped, murmuring, "Good for her." My mom tried to get up, maybe to calm things down, but my dad held her back. He stared at Adam with a look I'd never seen before, cold, disgusted, almost as if Adam were no longer his son. Adam's face twisted with desperation. "You don't understand," he started, but the crowd drowned him out. Guests booed. Someone shouted, "You don't deserve her." Another yelled, "Shame on you." The wedding had turned into a public trial, and Adam was guilty in every sense. The silence that followed Claire's final outburst was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. You could practically hear the collective heartbeat of the room, pounding with shock and fury. Everyone was waiting for her next move. Would she run? Would she collapse? Or would she take control of this disaster? Claire stood tall. Her veil slipped completely from her head, landing on the floor like a symbol of what she'd just lost. She didn't bother to pick it up. Instead, she looked Adam straight in the eyes. Her voice steady now, no longer trembling but sharp, decisive. "This wedding is over." Her words hit like a thunderclap. Gasps rippled across the crowd. My mom buried her face in her hands. My dad closed his eyes, shaking his head slowly, as if mourning not just the ruined wedding but the son he no longer recognized. Adam lunged forward, his voice frantic. "Claire, wait. We can fix this. Don't throw away everything we've built." His hands shook as he reached out, but Claire stepped back, her expression icy. "You threw it away," she said firmly. "The second you decided my best friend was worth more than my trust. The second you chose betrayal over honesty. I'll never look at you the same again." The room erupted. Some people clapped. Others shouted in support of Claire. Jessica finally stood, tears streaming down her face, whispering, "I'm so sorry." But Claire cut her off with a glare so fierce it silenced her instantly. Claire turned to me next. For a second, I braced myself for her anger. After all, I was the one who'd exposed it. But instead, she gave me a look I'll never forget, a mixture of devastation and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, so softly I almost didn't hear it. Then, without another word, she ripped the engagement ring from her finger and threw it onto the floor. The diamond clattered against the tiles, echoing through the hall. Adam froze, his eyes locked on it. As if watching his entire life slip away, Claire's father stormed forward, wrapping his arm around his daughter, glaring at Adam with pure rage. "She deserves better," he growled. The guests began leaving, some comforting Claire, others shaking their heads at Adam in disgust. Within minutes, the wedding hall was nearly empty, the flowers and decorations now mocking reminders of what should have been a beautiful day. Adam stood alone in the wreckage, pale and broken. Jessica had slipped away quietly, no doubt too ashamed to face anyone, and me? I stood in the middle of it all, my heart pounding. I'd done what I felt was right. But as I looked at my brother, shattered in the ruins of his own choices, I wondered if I'd just destroyed my family forever. Thank you for watching this story on True Tales Hub. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story that we post new tales twice a day, and each one comes with unexpected twists you won't see coming.